very, very happy to see all the people attending tonight, and it is really packed. We have a ton of people still coming in. So it looks like so many people are coming in, it may be slowing down. But in terms of how many can get in, let me first do this before we get started. I do want to make sure y'all can hear me clearly. If you look at the upper right-hand corner of your screen, you're going to see a hand, like raising your hand. So click on that if you can hear me clearly. Just help me out real quick. If anybody can hear me clearly, just click on that little hand. It helps me know that you can, in fact, hear me. Anybody else? Let's say a few more people hitting that little hand. That definitely helps me out to make sure the volume levels are correct. Okay, looks like we got some folks that can see me, which is already, to tell you the truth, is to really give you background within the cryptocurrency or digital currency space, happening in the last 7 days, the last 30 days, or should I say the upcoming 7 days, the upcoming days. It's really forward looking. I mean, if I talked about things that happened, like it's the Paleozoic period, you know what I mean? Like it's the dinosaur age. So I'm really of the trends that are happening in the very near future. I think that's relevant and applicable. So that's the first thing we talk about. And the second thing we try to technology trends. What's happening with new technology. And we're going to really be covering a lot of that tonight. New technology, not just in the digital currency space, but the block currency space. So that usually we try to start our webinar on news that's happened just recently, which is hard to get in the future. And the first piece of news that we want is what's happening in this whole unbanked area and how blockchain is really having an effect. And this also rolls over into digital currency. Now, people in the world who don't have a bank account. Okay? That's a huge number. 2 billion people do not have a bank account. And of course, most of them live in low and middle income emerging markets. But even so, there are still large numbers of people who are living in developed countries. And more people in the United States, believe it or not, do not have bank accounts. United States that are unbanked. 33.5 million households that are unbanked, that don't have a bank account. Okay, that's kind of the prepaid card world, as you might say. And I'm sure you've heard of people that are doing check cashing, prepaid cards, prepaid phones. That's kind of this, and that's 25% of the U.S. population, by the way. So this unbanked world is a very, very big world. And what solution? Well, actually, there are two things in place to solve this unbanked problem. One thing is you have to have effectively a low cost, easy to use, easily accessible money machine. Now, even 50 years ago, if you remember back, even 40 years ago, banks, in order to come in and get money, you had to go in the bank. But then you started having the money machines that were outside the bank. And then, of course, that expanded out to having money machines into drugstores and 7-Elevens and things like that. But now you see there's a new type of money machine that's called a smartphone or a cell phone. So in order to resolve this unbanked situation, you have to have easy access to some type of money machine or money facilitation. So now you have something which is called a smartphone, and virtually anybody can get access to that. So the first step in handling this 2 billion people is in place now. The second part has always been discussed in the past. You may have heard of something called micropayments or micro loans or microfinancing. Well, that's been the kind of long sought after thing that would make possible the bringing these unbanked people into the banked world, because they needed, the average transaction size in 20% of the world is less than 50 cents. That's the average transaction or retail payment size. It's less than 50 cents. So this is where a digital currency comes in and can play a big part. Okay, this is where a digital currency, where you have security in a currency which can go from one phone through the internet to another phone, or one phone through wireless internet to wireline internet back to wireless internet. That's when you can actually handle this quote unquote unbanked world. Of course, you then need to start developing ways to pay people with a digital currency. Okay, like you got to get companies participating in either receiving currencies or giving currencies. Now, the natural places now that are starting to crop up for getting an unbanked person banked involves, believe it or not, the payment for cell phones and smartphones. That actually is starting to become the place where large-scale use of cryptocurrency is happening to pay for the monthly phone bill. The next area, which is a natural, kind of natural, is energy, like or utilities, water, gas, electric. That's the next area, which is already starting to get cryptocurrency payment or digital currency payment. So, and then last but not least, you start getting into health payments for health services, okay, and for things like insurance. So those are your areas right now that are becoming the first kind of beachheads for the use of digital currency, and that's how literally tens of millions of people are now starting to move from the unbanked to the banked world, because the cell phone providers, in order to get payment, either giving or receiving, they're starting to work with digital currencies. So that's fairly interesting. When you start seeing governments starting to use cryptocurrency or digital currency to pay bills, such as government workers, benefits, you start seeing that happening, then you're going to have broad scale growth in terms of the unbanked to banked. So you have that 2 billion people, and right now that's where blockchain, that's where digital currency has a very, very real need. Okay, and that's starting to happen all over the world. It's moving people from unbanked, And the chief thing that's being, the chief area for the first payments are, believe it or not, monthly payments for cell phones, which happen to be digital currencies, because obviously you have a phone there, and if you're able to quickly trade currencies from phone to phone, like you have the phone and the store has the phone, that the owner, or validate the person, or show that this person is in fact who they say they are, identity valid verification. This is another huge area of blockchain, another huge area of a digital currency. Okay, big, very big. And this is the verification of a person that they are who they are, and they are supposed to receive a insurance benefit. Okay, so this is another area where blockchain is now getting involved. It's starting to get its hooks in, and this is digital currencies as well. What's the next area where cryptocurrencies are making big inroads? Small countries. Maybe not gigantic countries, but small countries. Okay. Now this is an article regarding 5 different countries, but I want to focus in on a couple here. Thailand right now is a huge area in terms of mining Bitcoin. You have a lot of people in there who are mining Bitcoin. And remember, mining doesn't mean just, in essence, birthing each crypto, Bitcoin. I mean, there's 2 things that miners do. They create Bitcoins every 10 minutes, but also miners are the ones that validate transactions. So in Thailand, you have a big mining industry, but there's another area of application which is very, very, very interesting. They are now starting to work in Thailand with the post office. Okay, and think of all those packages being shipped and delivered, being lost, stolen. Think about actually paying for your stamp. Maybe it's a digital currency or a digital valuable, like you need to buy some postage, and rather than running out to the post office and paying for stamps, you do it utilizing a digital currency, which then could theoretically be printed out and used on a package. Okay, so that is a very serious application, the postal service, to get rid of fraud in that area. Okay, very, very big area. Let's talk about another country, Malta. Now, I think this next quote kind of blew me away. Listen to this. It says here that Malta is the largest area for legal transactions in the world. And I went, what? So Malta is the home to most of the leading trading of cryptocurrency on planet Earth. Malta. My parents came from Malta. My grandfather did. Malta's a little island in the Mediterranean. There's Italy, then there's Sicily, and then there's Malta. Malta's a speck. Okay? It was famous before because it was, one of the places that held out against the Germans in World War II, and they never got I guess, never got invaded. But now Malta is apparently the single largest area in the world for the trading of cryptocurrencies. In fact, the biggest single cryptocurrency exchange, Binance, is now moving its headquarters from Hong Kong to Malta. Okay, so that's pretty doggone interesting. So Malta has set up a digital innovation authority on the island, and they're very, very, very open to any type of cryptocurrency or digital currency applications or developments. They're extremely open to that. So what I'm getting at here are there are something like over 200 countries in the world. And a lot of smaller countries see that this cryptocurrency world or digital currency world is going to be trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars. Just understand that the gross product or the gross worldwide product, like the gross domestic product for the United States is close to $21 trillion. That's the total production of product in the United States, $21 trillion. Worldwide, the total production worldwide annually is about $90 trillion. In most cases, that production transfers from a seller to a buyer. So you have $90 trillion worth of production where somebody's producing and selling and somebody's buying. Well, they got to use something to buy it with, right? Well, that's currencies right now. But you can see when you have something on the order of $2 to $3 trillion in annual trading, that's just the buying of cryptocurrencies. You can see that this world of the use of cryptocurrencies or digital currencies, I mean, heck, if it's 10% in the next 2 years of all transactions, if it's the vehicle for just 10% of all transactions, that's $9 trillion. So no wonder small countries, which in the past have had a real challenge competing with big countries because just the sheer size of population. Now, many of these small countries are beginning to figure out, well, you know something, I can even the playing field by allowing for the opening and the usage of digital and cryptocurrencies in my country because of something called the internet. So that's happening now big time. So that's a big trend right now. Smaller countries are going, there's an opportunity here. So let's go to the next example of what I'm talking about. Puerto Rico. All of a sudden, in the last 5 months, starting with an article in the New York Times, there has been tremendous discussion of what's happening in Puerto Rico in terms of the movement of cryptocurrency projects, billionaires, companies are now moving into Puerto Rico. In fact, it's happening. It's just starting right now. They called it the New York Times called it a crypto utopia. And you literally have these blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, digital currency billionaires and millionaires. They're up and selling their homes and cars in California, and they're establishing residency in the Caribbean island of Puerto Rico. And I can tell you in a few minutes that that is absolutely true, because I do have some long-time relationships in Puerto Rico, as I used to have a telephone company, used to own a telephone company there in the mid-90s, late 90s. Okay, I owned that company with the son of the current or the former governor of Puerto Rico. Now, so here's an example. Now, what's interesting about Puerto Rico is the fact that Puerto Rico is its own governmental entity. It's a commonwealth. Yet, it's still a territory of the United States. So it's kind of interesting. They run their country or their territory, called the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico. They run it very much independent of any other country. Yet, it is a U.S. territory, so every citizen there is a U.S. citizen. They have a U.S. passport. And on top of that, they vote in presidential elections during the primaries. And they have a congressperson who is in the Capitol. So it's very interesting what you have with some of these countries like Puerto Rico. You have these territories, like for instance Puerto Rico, that's a territory of the U.S. You have other major countries that have smaller territories that are essentially beachheads of operation that could then move into the United States. As an example, in Puerto Rico, that's where Medicare was tested. Before Medicare was voted and approved and operational in the United States, it was tested in Puerto Rico. And this happens over and over and over. Another unique thing about Puerto Rico is it essentially is a crossroads between Central and South America, United States, and Spain. Because before Puerto Rico was a territory of the United States, it was a territory of Spain until the War of 1998, Spanish-American War. Then it became a territory of the United States. So if you want, for instance, to be in the United States and do business in Spain, it's not a bad idea to kind of route through Puerto Rico. Likewise, if you want to do business in Mexico or South America or the Dominican Republic, going through Puerto Rico is a natural progression. So that's another example of what's happening lately in the news regarding where is blockchain going. I've always said with any type of digital currency or digital application, it's only as valuable as the problem it's solving. And if the variable is solving a problem, if the coin is solving a problem, if the digital currency is solving a problem, if the digital technology is solving a problem, then it's going to be adopted. If it really is just a fad, then it's not going to have a lot of staying power. So any type of currency you ever want to get involved with, you want to make sure that at the end of the day, that currency or that technology solves a problem that a very large number of people have. I mean, if you're solving a problem that only a small little morsel of people have, well, you're not necessarily going to grow that fast. But here's one thing you should know or think about, okay? Virtually every single transaction involving somebody buying and selling something involves a currency. That's just a fact. There's not too many places where you can, grab a chicken and walk into a store and trade the chicken for a rug. Okay? It's just not there anymore, right? So you're going to have use something that makes it possible for you to buy something. Well, that's something that everybody does practically, right? Now, if there's a problem related to a currency, like maybe the currency is going up, the inflation rate's going crazy like Venezuela, or maybe a country has decided to devalue their currency, which has happened like in Mexico, like a couple decades ago, they devalued the currency, or this happened in Russia. Man, that hurts. That affects you, right? If you're trying to buy something, if I'm here in the United States, but I really like this rug in Thailand, well, I've got to figure some way to pay that person. But I've got to figure out how to do it so it's secure and so that that person on the other side knows that they got paid before they ship whatever they're going to ship. So this currency world, if you have anything that solves a problem that makes it easier to use or trust the currency that's going back and forth, if there's something that makes it easier for a currency to stay stable in terms of value. You don't want a currency. I'll give you an example. In Venezuela 5 years ago, this is this true story. In Venezuela 5 years ago, if you purchased $1 million worth of Venezuelan currency, $1 million worth of Venezuelan currency 5 years ago, it is worth less than $5 today. If you were to purchase 5 years ago $1 million worth of Venezuelan currency, it is now worth less than $5 today. That's a problem. That's a big problem. And that happens a lot. You'll have currencies that go up or down. And nothing you can do about it if you're in those countries, unless you have a new type of currency that isn't affected by things such as that. All right. So now I want to talk about, so that's, and I told people that I wanted to talk about RaidaTech, which is a brand new company that was just launched by the founder of CloudCoin, Sean Worthington, and it utilizes the technology, the underlying technology of CloudCoin. Okay, and I'm going to talk about that real quick, but I'm also going to talk about how this new company and its success can have a very, very significant long-term impact on the price of CloudCoin and the ability to use CloudCoin in more and more places. So to understand why does CloudCoin work the way it does, we have to understand first how blockchain and cryptocurrencies work. The whole concept is you have a Bitcoin, and then because this Bitcoin has virtually every single transaction that's ever happened connected to it, this Bitcoin then can be verified by a seller coming from a buyer. So that's essentially, you have essentially what is a code that's attached to your Bitcoin. I'm just going to call it a code. It isn't exactly that. It's called a blockchain. It's a continuous record of the transactions of the particular currency. And through this code or this blockchain, this ever-growing blockchain, the person who's on the other end of a transaction can make sure that this Bitcoin is real. And it's done through all these miners that are all over the world. But as you can only imagine, this Bitcoin, as it's used more and more, has more transactions connected with it, which makes it harder and harder to use, costing more and more energy to use. So the thing that Raida, the underlying technology of CloudCoin, solved was the verification of an asset instantaneously, not through the use of transactions. And let me explain that. When dollars were first made, and are made even to this very day, they're made on they're made on paper and inks. Paper and inks are used. They're very difficult to counterfeit. Okay? So that's the concept of a paper money, particularly the US paper money called dollars. They're printed in a process that is very difficult to counterfeit. And they use special inks and special products inside the paper that make it very difficult to counterfeit. So the way you know that if you're going to receive a dollar or a $20 piece or a $100 bill, you look at it, and it's got, in fact, they've got even now things that cash register people can, check and see if it's a real currency. But my point here is it's very easy to take, for me to hand you a dollar bill and you go, okay, that's a dollar bill. You don't need to know anything else. You just need to, okay, that's a dollar bill. Good. You take it, boom, gone. CloudCoin, using the Raida technology, operates essentially the same way. In the CloudCoin, there is a special code in it. And when somebody takes a CloudCoin and I take it and I give it to somebody else, halfway across the planet, You have all these different redundant locations, okay, that verify the coin. It's almost like a passport. Think of dozens of these places, these nodes all across the internet, where when a cloud coin is traveling from point A to point B, all these passport officers are instantaneously checking the validity of the cloud coin. It's called counterfeit detection and prevention. That's it. That's all. That's what RAID is all about. It's counterfeit detection and prevention. It's an anti-counterfeiting technology. But because of the simplicity of it, it can transfer quickly with virtually no energy expended. And because it can do that, the cost for transactions can be infinitesimal if not completely negated. The speed can happen quickly. A transaction can happen on a mobile phone. So remember when I was talking about all those unbanked people? All those people, 2 billion people? The RAIDA technology, the cloud coins themselves, are absolutely ideal for the unbanked world. Okay? Absolutely ideal. Well, fraud happens in part because some pirate, like a worldwide network of passport officers, customs officers, who are checking your passport instantly, many different times over. All right. So Sean has now gotten patent pending on this RAIDA technology that he developed. And he has now launched a company called RaidaTech. And some of the areas they're focusing on with the RaidaTech is obviously supplying other private currencies with a better solution than blockchain. They can be a source of supplying countries like Venezuela, who can't seem to get things right in terms of developing their own blockchain currency tied to their oil. I mean, for RAIDA to be able to solve that problem for Venezuela, that's pretty easy. Also, there are these huge barter networks that use barter dollars inside there. These are networks of thousands, if not tens of thousands of companies that trade back and forth services and products without the use of dollars. But they do have some type of currency. It's called barter dollars. Well, what if RAIDA supplied the underlying technology so a barter dollar could become a RAIDA dollar? And actually, I don't want to. I was about to say something, but I'm going to hold that back for a second. So RAIDA technology is something that can supply an underlying technology to make barter dollars something that not only can be used inside of a barter network, but if done properly, those barter dollars, if they're utilizing the RAIDA technology, could then be used outside and tradable with other currencies through BitShares, through CloudCoin, on and on. What's another area that one could use RAIDA technology for? Have any of you ever heard of a situation where people bought concert tickets and went to the event only to find out that they were frauded? Absolutely. It happens all the time. How about tickets to sporting events? Happens all the time. How about tickets to theme parks where there are coupons offered? Fraud happens all the time. Well, once again, the RAIDA technology can be used by all these ticket outlets like Ticketmaster to have a true anti-counterfeitable ticket. All right? What's another application? I think we've already touched on the underbanked world. All these people that, don't have bank accounts. That's an obvious one. Let me tell you about another situation. Have you heard about voter fraud? Anybody heard about voter fraud before? Anybody heard about people that couldn't get access to an ID, who couldn't vote because they didn't have some type of ID, like I don't know, birth certificate? You ever heard of that problem? Well, that problem is resolved with RaidaTech. Once again, it can be used to verify the authenticity of either the thing itself or the person itself using it. Okay? What's another application? Store coupons. Where once again, people, right now, remember they used to clip coupons. You'd go to your newspaper and you'd buy a newspaper, and they had a big section where you clip the coupons. Well, I don't know about you, but the newspapers I see these days are about, they're about 30 or 40 pages instead of hundreds of pages they were the Sunday paper even 10 years ago. These newspapers are going the way of the dinosaur. They're going the way of a public payphone or a fax machine. But coupons are still a cool deal. They're something cool. And if you have RaidaTech that's underlying a coupon, you can't get frauded because there's coupon fraud. So anything that can be frauded can be solved with the Raida technology. Now, how does this apply to CloudCoin? How does this lift the price of CloudCoin? Well, every time another currency uses RaidaTech instead of blockchain, all of a sudden it's much easier to set up trading and transactions between the two currencies, isn't it? If you have private currencies that are being developed by major companies, like they could develop a private currency between banks. There could be a private currency that's developed on Amazon. There's been lots of talk about Amazon developing its own blockchain type of currency. Well, what if, just go sky's the limit. Amazon goes, I like this Raida technology. All of a sudden, you have the potential of having a currency that can trade for CloudCoin, and CloudCoin can trade for this Amazon, just hypothetical Amazon currency. The bartered currencies. Once again, you have to think this way. The more that the underlying Raida technology is used as a valuable, even with collectibles, digital collectibles, same thing, Celebrium. We're getting the pictures done. By the way, we sent out our first kit to our first celebrity to do their first video. And we had just had another celebrity agree to move forward to have their own Celebrium unit 3 days ago, excuse me. But once again, if you have digital collectibles that are on the Raida platform, Raida technology, those can begin trading on BitShares or trading directly with CloudCoin. So the more places that use the Raida technology, the more people who get that valuable through the Raida, so because it's sitting on Raida, and then they could use it to swap or trade with other currencies. That's how currencies work, man. They have trading back and forth. Right now, I go dollars trade with yens, yens trade with euros. That's how you start establishing the massive use of a given currency. If it's used, it's used. You get my drift? The more you use it, more people will use it. And more people will want to get their currency, and they could trade it to other people for their currencies. So the more the RaidaTech gets out into different nooks and crannies, whether they're barter dollars, private currencies, underlying technology for other digital currencies, currencies from other countries. But once the Raida technology is accepted more and more and more and more, all the people who have all these cloud coins, all of a sudden you have so many more people who want to buy and sell the coins, which, the more, if you can take a look, what are we doing with RaidaTech? We are pushing the technology out. we're doing more pushing out than people pushing in, if you know what I'm saying. It's not like there's lots of people out there trying to reduce the usage of CloudCoin. There just isn't. But there's a lot of activity to increase the usage. The more interest, the more increasive usage of the underlying technology, it will affect everything associated with it. So that's the importance of what's happening with RaidaTech. And we certainly recognized that months and months ago. My wife did, for sure. She said, you know, whatever we do, we need to make sure that RaidaTech gets used everywhere possible. If we want to make sure our cloud coins are worth a whole lot of money, we need to make sure that underlying technology is powerful and being used more and more and more and more. So there's certain things we're doing, one of which is making sure the underlying technology is getting everywhere. Okay. Now, if you are interested in learning how you can participate or be somehow involved with RaidaTech, just email me. I'd be happy to send it out. So if you're interested in RaidaTech, if you're interested in more information on what we're doing with RaidaTech, email me, and I will send you information on what we're doing. So kind of what I wanted to go over tonight, I wanted to talk about where are digital currencies and cryptocurrencies getting more beachheads? Where are they expanding? And I think this gives you a pretty good idea. It's time for the drawing. 5,000 cloud coins. That number is going to be reduced to 2,500 cloud coins, and then because obviously with what's happening with BitShares, the trading happening, they've been doing now some trading on there. With I just got a report that the cloud coins on the manual trading were going for as high as 70 cents a coin. That's fantastic. So and it looks like it's running anywhere from 6 to 8 pretty consistently. So with that said, we are going to reduce from 5,000, but not tonight. So we're going to go ahead and do our drawing for 5,000 crowd coins. It's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ooh, number 35. So whoever got here and is sat in our little space, our webinar space, the 35th person has won 5,000 cloud coins. So once again, webinar tonight, I wanted to give you much more in-depth information, what's happening in certain areas, certain countries, certain locations, what's happening. And once again, if you're interested more in RaidaTech, you can email me at bob@digitalcurrencygrowth.com. If you want to know how to participate or somehow be involved, just email me. I'll be happy to send you an informational letter on what we're doing. Thank you very much.